Are big sports tournaments worldwide being hustled through? That is the very big question facing us today. There is a lot of pressure on various sports bodies that we know. There is a lot of financial pressure, and athletes by and large are pretty restless to get along with their lives. But here we need to look at the US Open, which is coming up by end August. And in that tournament, Rafael Nadal, a marquee player, won't be playing. Why? Because he says that the COVID-19 pandemic is still not under grip and he would not want to risk any travel at the time being. He does wish the tournament the very best. Roger Federer is already out for the rest of this year because of an injury which he sustained and subsequent surgery. Then for the US Open, there is more bad news. Barty, the number one woman player, will also not be playing, and she has already said that. So in a tournament of this magnitude, when the Wimbledon has already been cancelled, US Open sees a lot of names being knocked out. We already know that the coronavirus pandemic has created a lot of havoc worldwide in the sports schedule. It has delayed the start of seasons. It has forced the cancellation or postponement of major sports events, pushing the Summer Olympics in Japan by a year, and leading to major questions about health risks for athletes and other sports personalities. Now, coming back to the US Open, Nick Kyrgios, that lovely character who riles up the big guns, he again won't be playing. Nick did wish the US Open well, but he made a point that where the COVID pandemic is concerned, not enough seriousness was being given to it, particularly, and there was a straight jibe at Djokovic, if you remember the Adria Tour, which he organized at his behest, and after the entire gig got over, Djokovic himself and four other players tested positive. That created a lot of negativity over the initiative taken by Djoko himself. He had to apologize later. So the US Open will not have the big names, and it takes away the sheen from the tournament. It also raises the question that was it necessary to have it now? Could it have been postponed for later? But as they are saying that in the bubble, this tournament is on. So far, the other female player who is a big draw, the 2019 Women's Champion Bianca Andreescu, she's in the field at least for now. And players have been given the option of withdrawing till the last moment, till their matches come up. In India, we had a case of COVID test which turned positive for Dr. Amol Patil. He was at the NIS Patiala, and as per protocol, he was allowed to enter the main hospital and the sports venue till he showed symptoms. Then obviously he was pushed into quarantine. This happened on July the 6th. There were also some kind of indicative reports that not too many players were very happy with the kind of setup being provided in camps in India. So there again, one possibly should try and lean back, understand the situation, and not rush through this whole process. In the US Open, which is going to be televised and where the tennis world is concerned, it's a huge event. Djokovic will obviously lead this year's US Open playing field, and it does give an opportunity to some younger players, and that stars Dominic Thiem, Daniil Medvedev, Stefanos Tsitsipas, and Alexander Zverev, and they'll be eyeing the opportunity to have a crack at the title. So for them, it's good news. Djokovic won the US Open in 2011, 15 and 18, and he would be attempting to win an 18th Grand Slam title this year. Of course, for India, the good news is that Sumit Nagal, who played very well against Roger Federer, and that became a talking point in India. He is in the US Open due to the casualties so far from the players who will not be figuring in the tournament. Since we are talking about the US, a lot of the American news channels have been playing up the threat which faces sports there, and baseball is another major tournament which has got pretty badly hit. Major League Baseball encountered a serious obstacle with the postponement of games scheduled in Miami and Philadelphia, all because of the COVID pandemic. President Trump has been hit repeatedly by channels like CNN and Some other broadcast networks who are not very happy with the way this whole situation is being handled. He, of course, has his own reasonings, and he justifies the fact that with the maximum testing being held in the US, there's nothing to fear. And he's also advocated that schools should reopen. So I do know that that's a separate topic. Coming back to baseball, the Miami Marlins had to put off traveling after a number of their players tested positive for the virus. The Philadelphia Phillies were scheduled to host the New York Yankees, but that game also got postponed as the Marlin players were recently in their stadium. According to an ESPN report, 8 Miami players and 2 coaches tested positive after the latest round of testing. That came after 4 Marlin players received positive test results during the team's trip to Philadelphia. So the point I'm trying to make is, in a place like the United States, with all its facilities, things are not hunky-dory. And please remember, these games are being played in the absence of spectators. It is being held in a bubble. Still, there is such a huge problem which sports faces. To wind this up, I think that tournaments are being pushed through worldwide for a couple of reasons, and they are compelling reasons. So the first is financial losses which are accruing. So whether they are sports federations, whether they are large sports bodies, they are all very worried about financial losses. They don't want to keep holding back, and that is one of the reasons why cricket has resumed, why IPL 2020 will now be held in UAE. Similarly, where tennis and the other genres are concerned, there is a lot of pressure to just move on with the whole gig. Players are getting impatient across the board. For a long time, suddenly life has come to a standstill. They don't have adequate training facilities. They are cooped up in their homes. There is lack of a line of sight, which is making a lot of people very anxious, very jumpy, and they have been giving interviews to that effect that it's time, everything moved on. Sports bodies are desperate to get back, like I said. And unlocking is part of the key, because the whole world went into a lockdown for a couple of months, and financially, economically, everything came to a standstill. There were huge losses being incurred. So where sports is concerned, unlocking seems to be the big mantra. But my point is all of this being done too soon, and is this being rushed through? Like I said, are large world sports tournaments being hustled through?